Hello, dear friends. Welcome once again at this virtual class where we study some important works by great writers. And in this series, today we are going to discuss a very popular and a very important poem, Night of the Scorpion by Indian poet Nissim Ezekiel. Dear friends, it's a very important poem for all levels of students of English literature. So let's start our discussion of the poem. Okay, dear friends, a brief biographical introduction to the poet. Nissim Ezekiel is the most notable poet and playwright and editor who is considered as one of the most distinguished voices in post-independent Indian English writings. Dear friends, as we know, the tradition of writing in English by Indian writers is not very old. In fact, it is only in the beginning of the 20th century that we find some genuine Indo-Anglian, Indian English writers. After 1950s, a new generation came up, and it is a work by writers like Ezekiel, Ramanujan, Kamala Das, and some novelists that this become a prominent genre in itself. If we talk about Nissim, he was born in a Jewish family in Bombay, and after his initial education at Bombay, he went to study abroad in London. He later worked as a professor at Bombay University and also a visiting professor at University of Leeds. And this particular experience, first coming from minority ethnic group and having lived and studied abroad, Nissim's poetry is obviously has a distinct feel, making it different from other contemporary poets of the time. Now, friends, because he come from a very different ethnic background, a Jewish person in India, dominated by Hindus and Muslims, then because of his education abroad, his we can say living in very miserable conditions, it changed his outlook towards people, towards art and poetry. He is considered one of the best craftsmanship when we talk about writing poetry. Now, if we talk about his major works, his poetry collections, they include the first poetic collection being A Time to Change, published in 1952, The Unfinished Man, published in 1965, Hymns in Darkness, published in 1976, and Latter Day Psalms 1982, which was winner of Sahitya Academy Award. He has also written some plays. Uh, Prominent among them are three plays: Nalini, Marriage Poem, and The Sleepwalkers. And he is also a prominent editor. And in his editorship, there are Indian Writers in Conference, the PEN All India Centers. PEN stands for Poets, Essayists, and Novelists. And the second one is Writing in India, PEN All India Center, and he edited this book in 1965. Now, coming to our present poem, Night of the Scorpion. It is one of his most popular poems with a typical Indian rural setting. The narrator's mother is stung by a scorpion, and the tense dramatic situation created by this incident, is presented through the eyes of a narrator, we can say a boy directly related to the victim. The poem is actually a very apt commentary on Indian rural milieu. Though there are touches of irony and there are some strokes of mild satire, but overall it is a sympathetic observation of community life of illiterate, superstitious peasants who take refuge in the name of God and karma for every calamity. Because they live a life of, we can say, a great destitution. They live in without any resources. They have to believe in the concept of karma or destiny, and this is what this poem also present. When we talk about the opening of the poem, it says, I remember the night my mother was stung by a scorpion. 10 hours of steady rain had driven him to crawl beneath a sack of rice. So, this is how the poem begins, by giving a very factual description of an event. As we all know, it is a matter of fact style, that it is, I remember, the narrator remembers that particular monsoon night full of rain, and how she was stung by a scorpion, and rain that drives reptiles in hiding, which are generally hides beneath the earth. They came up because water soaks into their hiding places. It is a common phenomena during monsoon season, and so happens with the narrator's mother. Parting with his poison flesh of a diabolic tale in the dark room, he risked the rain again. Here stands for, obviously, scorpion. Now the poet points out that the association of poisonous reptiles like snake or scorpion or any other poisonous reptile which doesn't have legs, it is its association with satanic figures, with Satan. For example, diabolic. Diabolic is, once again, it stands for evil force. So Satan and devil is very common belief across all cultures, especially in Christian belief. Snake or a scorpion, they are associated with devils, though in Indian context we can say snakes are worshipped and are considered to be both harmful and bountiful. Now, this line is very important. He risked the rain again. The scorpion knew that now he would be hunted down, and so he found it safer to move from there, even though it means getting wet in the rain. Now, scaling these two risks, staying there where people will hunt it down, or going once again in rain, the scorpion find it more, we can say, find it better to go into the rain instead of staying there. It is once again a very natural reaction from the animal. The poet then says, the peasants came like swarms of flies and buzzed the name of God 100 times to paralyze the evil one. Now, you can see like, which is basically example of simile, and it's a very effective simile, because as the peasant come in a group, just like flies go to the object of attraction. uh, it's once again a very natural description of rural people. The moment they heard about the casualty, the scorpion biting a lady, they all came together like swarms and buzzed the name of God. Once again, extending the comparison of flies and peasants, the way they were saying Ram, 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 yeah, taking name of God, they were like buzzing flies, the name of God 100 times, and they do this only to paralyze, to nil the effect of the evil one, because the scorpion is associated with the presence of some evil force. Now, the buzzing sound creates impression of non-stop, indistinct sound, just like a crowd collectively reciting one name of God, so that they can be spared any other further kind of evil force effect. Then it is a common belief among villagers that merely by taking the name of God, one can remove the evil effect. Look at their innocence, and it's very, we can say, a prevalent belief that we should take name of God whenever we feel that there is some evil or adverse force. It also shows their innocent faith in the powers of Almighty. With candles, with lanterns, throwing giant scorpion shadows on the mud baked walls. They searched for him. He was not found. Now, once again, candles and lanterns, it shows that the village doesn't have electricity. Once again, a very common thing. throwing giant scorpion shadows. Now, the shape of a typical shape of Indian lantern, it itself gives idea. When its shadow is thrown on a wall, it creates an impression of, we can say, some kind of insect or scorpion. Mud baked walls, once again a rural setting. The walls, they are not made of concrete or some cement, but are baked, sun baked by baked by sun, and it is just made. And they search for him. Obviously the scorpion was not there. They clicked their tongues. With every movement that the scorpion made, his poison moved to mother's blood, they said. Now, this is important. Now, when it is a gathering of people, they basically talk. They all talk. They all talk their particular individual experiences and their theories about what has happened. So one among them, yeah, many among them pointed out that the movement of a scorpion will cause the poison to disperse in the blood. So they is not one particular person, but some people among the crowd. Clicking the tongue. Now this is very Indian kind of thing. This shows that their sense of desperation and helplessness. They know that something bad has happened. Now all are speaking at once. There is not, we cannot say that only one person is speaking at a time. They all are speaking at once, expressing the age old beliefs and their superstitions. May he sit still, they said. May the sins of your previous birth be burned away tonight, they said. May your suffering decrease the misfortune of your next birth, they said. You can see that how different types of conversation, responses, different types of beliefs are expressed by the gathered mob. Now, everybody tried to pitch in with their own formula of fate. As they pointed out, life is an eternal cycle, is a deeply held belief, and our karma decide the quality of our lives. It is regulated. So it's a sin of your previous birth, which is basically it's a cycle: birth, death, we can say reincarnation or naya janam. Fir our acts, our deeds, they decide what we become in our next life. The repetition of they said, they said, they said, it serves two purposes. First, villagers are continuously talking, and it is basically a mild satirical touch. Rather than taking care of the women, rather than thinking about the cure, they are talking about all these things which doesn't have anything to do with the lady in pain. And that there is a variety of opinions expressed. Everybody has something to add, something to say different from the other. And look at, somebody is talking about previous birth, somebody is talking about next birth, somebody is talking about balance of good and evil deeds in our lives. If we have done some good deeds and are suffering, our next life will be better. If we are suffering, it must be that in our previous birth we have done some bad deeds, evil deeds. For that we are paying in this birth. May the sum of all evil balanced in the unreal world against the sum of good become diminished by your pain. Once again, you can see the people, the throng talking about balance, balance of good and evil deeds, which have to be balanced in this unreal world. Unreal world because according to our Indian Vangme, it is considered to be a Maya Sansar, and the real Sansar, the reality lies beyond this life of blood and bone. May the poison purify your flesh of desire and your spirit of ambition. Once again, the talk about the carnal desires, the desires which basically attach our body to this unreal world. May this pain relieve you of all these kind of desires, they said. And talking in this manner, they sat around. Now the poet will say a very, very important psychological point of view. They sat around the floor with my mother in the center, the peace of understanding on each face. Every one of them knows that their talking will not do anything good to the women, but piece of understanding that we have to say to comfort her relatives, her husband, her children, they have to pitch in. This is one of the most common found feature in Indian society, that whenever there is a moment of, we can say, casualty, people come, people sit together, and they try to say things that can comfort us. More candles, more lanterns, more neighbors, more insects, and the endless rain. My mother twisted through and through, groaning on a mat. As the news reaches the remote corners of the village, more people come because the search is getting hectic and urgent, because the scorpion is still not found. So everybody is coming, and because of this light of candles and lanterns, because of the rainy seasons, there are insects which is attracted by the light. Now, the poet says that during all this kind of things, the ordeal of mother is going on. She is twisting in pain through and through, groaning on a mat. There is, we can say, no relief by the words. The we here we should know, earlier also they said, and here you can look at more. Here we can say a particular use of figure of speech, anaphora. Now, what is an anaphora? Anaphora is a figure of speech in which words are repeated at the beginning of a phrase or sentence twice, thrice, or many times. This is called anaphora. Now, my father, now the poet brings a personal touch. My father, skeptic, skeptic, rationalist, trying every curse and blessing, powder, mixture, herb, and hybrid. Now, the father figure is presented as different from the villagers. He doesn't believe in all these kind of talks like the scorpion moving, the poison rising. He is a skeptic, a rationalist. He believes in science. So he was trying all whatever he can do, whatever remedies he can apply to the bitten toe. There he tried to use powder, he tried to use mixtures, he tried to use herbs and hybrid, doing everything in his capacity to make his wife pain bearable, or we can say trying to cure her. Now, it is very important to know that father shows himself different from illiterate and superstitious villagers, and he is desperately trying to reduce the pain. He even poured a little paraffin upon the bitten toe and put a match to it. I watched the flame feeding on my mother. I watched the holy man perform his rites to tame the prison with an incantation. Now, we come to know that narrator is actually a child of this lady who has been bitten by the scorpion. He says that the father, in his attempt to cure or to alleviate the pain, he put a paraffin oil on the toe, the bitten toe, and so that the stung may be burned with this fire. Then there are some ojas, local, we can say, tantrics. They are trying to remove the stung by their mantras, by incantation. And the boy is fascinated. The boy is very eagerly watching all these things happening. He is full of curiosity, all the measures taken by the villagers and his father, and he is also watching the mother twisting in pain through and through. After 20 hours, it lost its sting. My mother only said, "Thank God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children." Dear friends, this end is actually, we can say, the climactic end of the poem. 20 hours it take, and finally its effect was nulled, and the scorpion's stung pain basically died down. But the only thing the mother was concerned about was that her children were safe. So she thanked God the scorpion picked on me and spared my children. Dear friends, here we can understand, we can see the selflessness of the mother. She forgets all her pain, just relieved with the fact that her children were spared of any pain. If we talk about the technical aspects of the poem is written in free verse with different line lengths and no rhyme. So it's a kind of free verse. There are stanzas, but once again, the unit of a stanza is not common among them. Nissim has used both indirect narration in the starting part and end part of the poem and direct speech of the villagers to create dramatic tension. The poem is balanced in irony also, as there is personal crisis of the narrator, but at the same time it mocks social superstitions and blind belief of the helpless villagers. So friends, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the poem and you got to know about this poem, learned about this poem, and we will meet soon in our next video. Till then, take care. Thank you, friends.